She cultivated a love for art and designing at an early age and took her unique sense of tone and colour into her chosen craft. One of Sri Lanka's most accomplished textile fabric designers, she honed out her craft at the Department of Small Industries, where her talent was allowed to nurture and grow. A fellow of the Textile Institute of the UK, she also teaches, passing her knowledge and talent down to many. ETV Power Women proudly presents Chandrani Thennawara. Hi and welcome to ETV Power Women. We have today with us our guest Chandrani Thennawara, who you would have heard through the introduction has been very involved in the craft sector of textile and fabric today. Hi and welcome to the show. I'm just going to ask you straight off how you got into this field. How did you end up here?
This is what, as I said, it's a long, devious story.
Right.
Like most things in my life, things just happen, and
Okay.
I went along with whatever happened. Never really had any ambition or towards which I worked. It has worked out. So professionally, things I was good at art,
Right.
even from my small days, and I was very lucky. Through the vicissitudes of war,
Yeah.
I had to shift from Ladies College, which is in Kolpeti,
Right.
to Good Shepherd Convent, which is in Kotehena. I was very sad to leave Ladies College. The buildings were acquired for military purposes,
Right,
and the
okay.
school shifted up country. And my father said, no boarding houses. You know, children grow away from their parents. And so we shifted house also around that time.
Okay.
And so I went to Good Shepherd. But anyway, that was a landmark change, because that's where I met Mrs. Cora Abraham,
Right,
who was a pioneer in child art education, or rather education through art.
Yeah.
And she influenced my life a lot.
Right.
And then after I got back to Ladies College, and anyway I always wanted to come back, and I did. But I continued. Meanwhile, Mrs. Abraham retired and she started an art school.
Okay.
So I continued to go there.
Right.
But then I did science, I did maths and physics and things. And by the time you come to A levels, the society which I belong to, like middle class Sinhala Buddhist,
Right.
this is the time they all start saying, now you must settle down, get married, and this and that. I thought, if I go to university, they'll leave me alone for 3
I won't have
years.
to do any of
For
this.
3 years. So that's one of the reasons why I went to university. Then I was involved with Mrs. Cora Abraham's art classes. She trained me to teach children.
Okay.
And I was teaching there also on Saturdays as a teacher.
Right.
And she started a thing called the Young Artist Group,
Okay.
to get some of us together, and every Sunday we used to meet and paint and things. It was very lovely. And then we used to organize exhibitions, and we published our own magazine, literally published it. We printed it. We had a little press.
Okay.
And we put the letters together and printed it. And so it was great fun. Anyway, with all of this, I also realized that Buddhism, your life is in your hands.
Yeah.
You never mind what anybody says. And Krishnamurti's philosophy, what other people think of you is their problem, not yours. All of this together,
Yeah.
plus Mrs. Cora Abraham, who said, you paint what you want to express, never mind what anybody else says.
Yeah.
Then there was this advertisement in the paper saying that the Sri Lanka Teachers Travel Club was organizing a trip to Europe.
Right.
So now I just went for the first meeting. They had it at St. Thomas's, Mount Lavinia. I didn't know how I was going to pay for this or anything, you know.
Yeah.
Now, meanwhile, I wasn't rebelling. I was simply refusing to consider getting married. At that time, I asked, what was it called? Ceylon, I think. They were giving fly now, pay later. I can remember the advertisement.
Oh my goodness, wow.
Yeah, so I went to Europe with this Sri Lanka Teachers Travel Club. in London we were hosted by the British Council, and as we were going past the National Art Gallery, the person who was taking us happened to be sitting next to me, and he just said, you know, that's our National Art Gallery, but I don't think you all will have time to see it.
Right.
So then I said, oh, that's really sad for me, and told him about my involvement with art and all that. I had taken a few pictures and things, and then next day he had arranged changed the schedule a little bit and arranged for 3 of us. There were 2 art teachers from Royal College, 3 of us to visit the Camberwell School of Arts and Crafts in South London. So it was very pleasant. We went around the school and all that, and I told them, I don't think I can afford to ever study here. This is a 3-year course. I would love to do that. And that's all. And we continued the journey. We went to Germany. They gave us pocket money also.
Oh, really?
Yes. When I came, about a few days on, no, actually when I came back, there was a letter from Camberwell saying, if you wish to study with us, we can make a special course of 1 year.
Wow.
Yes, because they used to like to have foreign students those days, you know. Foreigners had not become a problem because they, especially art school, because they felt it's good for their students to have this international contact, you see. So then my father thought it's such a pity, you know, not to send me, because now I got a place in a school in London, you know. So then I went to Camberwell. Then that 1 year went in a flash. And I thought, my goodness, I can't go back and face that again. No, they start trying to get me married off.
I'm gonna just stop you there, because we've got to go in for a little break. But I want to hear the rest of it when we come back. Don't go anywhere, because we're going to be back from the lovely Chandrani Thennawara. So we'll see you after the break. Hi, and welcome back to ETV Power Women. We've just been having a lovely chat with Chandrani Thennawara. I'm just going to go straight back into it, actually, because I cut you off to take a break earlier when you were telling us about your year in England.
Yes, I said 1 year went in a flash. And now I had been given exchange only for 1 year to study for 1 year. Now I didn't have any more money coming, and I didn't have a job, and I didn't know how to get one either, because I'm afraid I kept away from the Sri Lanka group. I went to the tea centre. It was in Piccadilly Circus, a very central place close to the National Art Gallery, which I used to visit all the time. And while I was having tea, a Sri Lankan lady was standing next to me. She said, what are you doing here and all that? And I said, look, I told her my story. I have no job. I don't know, no money. She said, well, there's a job here, why don't you apply?
Wow.
So this is to sell Ceylon tea.
Right.
So I thought, I don't know, I don't think I'll be good at it, but anyway I applied because I was desperate, and they gave me the job. So then that involved working in a different part of England every week.
Okay, wow.
With,
so
London as a base. And they used to send a little unit, tea making unit, lovely cups and saucers, 2 leaves and a bun, and all that, and you have to go in a sari, and they put you up in very good hotels. While I was doing this, you know, customers who met me said, why are you doing a job like this, you know? And in Nottingham, I remember one gentleman said, look, if you want to go to university, I can arrange it. You know, I was very surprised. I was wondering this very strange thing, but later I found out, but in those remote sort of universities, the English students don't go, because they check out on social life. That's how they choose their university.
So London was a place.
So if it's a remote place, they don't go. Something like that. So there were sort of people, and anyway, like that. And then some other people, I was told, the adult education scheme, they give you finances to go back to to college. That if you get yourself into a recognized university or college of higher studies, the county where you live, that is considered your home county, they will give you a study grant. Now, this is, I mean, it's important. I couldn't believe it. But there again, at the tea centre, some Sri Lankan officer who had come, he said, today I can't come and meet you where you're working, because I have to meet someone at the airport who's coming to study textiles in near Manchester.
Okay.
Then I asked, you know, what is all that about? and got the information. And meanwhile, I had met a family from Manchester. They were German Jewish origin.
Right.
And because this college was near Manchester, I just told them just find out about it for me. Now there again, if not for the fact that I knew them, I may not have bothered, you see.
Okay.
I could just phone them and say, just find this out for me, which they did. And then, of course, I had university background, so I mean, I just got accepted.
Okay.
Just like that. Salford College of Technology to do textiles.
Right. Do you think that all your travel and seeing all these different places and experiencing different cultures, do you think that kind of influenced your sort of design and your colors?
Design as well as me as a person with my that involvement with religion. I mean, I don't go to temple or anything. I go to church because it's beautiful. I go to temples because they're interesting and beautiful, and I go to kovils and everywhere, almost everything for artistic reasons mainly. Anyway, with all of this, it has made me who I am, and this war thing is totally beyond my understanding. This is such an interesting world, and to destroy it is, you cannot think of anything more foolish. Then I came back and started working. I first did some worked at a batik workshop.
Okay.
The workshop was in somewhere in Moratua, in a lovely old house, a really old house. Anyway, it was quite successful, but then I decided it was really not enough.
I know you're wearing one of your own creations today. So just take us through the process of how, you know, from envisioning the design and thinking about the colors to actually having a piece that you're wearing.
So,
how does that?
If you're designing, then you get inspiration from everything. Especially if you live in Sri Lanka, it's from nature, you don't need anything else. Like this saree is from after visit to Singharaja.
Okay,
It had been raining and it was very muddy and there was black mud and the leaves had fallen, dried leaves, you know, autumn colors, like the cotton tree changes color like that. So this is the
that's what inspired.
Yes, but then I was very lucky. I was in charge of a workshop, which was a design center. It was we were not doing production. I was free to experiment.
Okay.
And I was very lucky with my bosses. And also I worked for the government, which was at the time it was the ideal place for a designer.
Right. Okay.
Because they were not concerned about whether things sold or not.
Okay. It's all about bringing it out and experimenting.
No, so you were free to experiment because nobody was pressurizing you.
To say, okay, you know, you have to make X amount of rupees every month.
Yes. Oh, this is a fashion. No, nothing. I didn't have anything like that.
So you kind of had a free range.
Very free range, and also very skillful people who were weaving. And also, whatever you needed, you eventually got if you had patience to wait. If you wanted certain colors of dye or something, they didn't say they're very expensive, you can't have it. No. You would eventually get it if
somehow
you kept on asking for it. It was ideal conditions for a designer to work. And shops in Colombo and Small Industries had the first ever total sari fashion show.
Oh wow!
Department of Small Industries. So it's very exciting times, and also it's ideal conditions except for the pay. But it was worthwhile. I have no regrets.
How do you see the kind of textile industry? Do you think it's sort of progressed rapidly since?
The handloom industry has progressed a lot in terms of quality and the consciousness of quality. It has progressed immensely, and the presentation also. You know, the fact that you need professional people to do the presentation, they now accept that. It has progressed a lot.
And where do you see it heading? I mean, do you see many more people sort of joining the industry?
Now, there's a lot of skill, a lot of knowledge. The handloom workshop managers are very knowledgeable people. They do a 2-year residential course. Some of them are sent to India and all that. But design, they are not taught.
Okay.
So therefore, you need professional designers. Now, Sri Lanka still does not have a graduate course in textile.
That's what I was going to ask you actually. I know that you're something you're very vocal
about, because now I have gained a lot of experience in this field, because we have a lot of qualified textile technologists, but they wouldn't look at handloom.
Right.
There is
Totally
this obsolete
separate.
thing that shouldn't exist sort of attitude.
But it's very much part of our
So I was
heritage.
only qualified person in that sector.
Yeah.
That's how I got a special kind of place, which is why I'm teaching,
Yeah.
and they need me because of that. This special kind of my journey through the industry. If I worked in the power loom sector, I mean, there are dozens of people who did that.
Yeah.
And, so I feel very sad about it. And the way things are going, I feel I will not get a chance to teach.
Right. Well, I'm going to take you there again because we've got to take another little break. But don't go anywhere because we're going to be right back with lots more interesting talk. So we'll see you after the break. Hi, and welcome back to ETV Power Women. We've been having a chat with the lovely Chandrani Thennawara. And actually, before we went into a break, we were just discussing how there's no qualification, really, professional qualification
in textile design.
Yeah.
There is in all other fields now.
But just not in design.
Textile technology, garment technology,
Yeah.
fashion design, but not
But
in
not
textile design, which is
is
very fascinating. And also I think Sri Lanka needs it because now we buy the fabrics from outside,
Yeah.
whereas we should be designing our own.
Yeah.
Now all this time, for a long time, we used to get all the designs from outside for the garment industry,
Yeah.
and quietly that is changing.
Yeah.
It's not easy to change that, but it will.
Yeah.
Soon there'll be enough fashion designers competing with each other, and we will have national level design. You have to have a lot of designers competing with each other
To kind of raise that, yeah.
for some people to come up. It doesn't happen in isolation, and it will happen in the fashion design sector pretty soon. But textiles, we don't have a graduate course in textile design, which is very sad, because after all, textiles is a raw material of fashion design. We wake up to it.
Might be too late.
we will be about so many years late, and then there will be no
else,
teachers also. I took this devious pathway in textiles as a chartered textile technology. I chose to work in the craft sector, and that's how I gained this enormous amount of experience.
Yeah.
I feel eternally grateful to all those weavers from whom I learned so much, especially the managers of those workshops. They're very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And all this experience, I'm absolutely longing to teach.
Yeah. To pass it on.
But I'm not going to get the opportunity because I do one little unit, like 60 hours
Yeah.
of teaching, which requires 3-4 years, It's very sad. This course where I teach at university in the Faculty of Architecture, they have a design course which has jewelry design, ceramics, furniture, graphics, and fashion and textiles together.
Okay.
So the jewelry designers are furniture designers. We will have professionals in all of those
Just
fields.
not in textile.
Just not in textiles, yes. And the talent there is
Yeah, because I was going to ask you actually
amazing,
about teaching. It must be a wonderful thing to kind of nurture this talent.
That's right.
And
And also they are lucky that all those things are happening in one faculty. Together with the architecture people, because that's also feeds into their
design,
yes, to their thing.
I just wanted to ask you, Chandrani, because you're very spiritual. We've touched on this throughout the show, actually, and you feel that these events, have led you to your spirituality. They've all been connected by another force. I mean, it plays a huge part in your life and in your design, I think.
It has opened up a whole world which exists here in little Sri Lanka. Through that, I have been conscious of the different, the sensitivity is different in each of those cultures. And that I was exposed to because of Mrs. Abrams and going to that art school, I think, because that gave me the aesthetic response, So apart from the in-depth benefit that you get from knowing about all these religions, what is the use of having all these 4 religions in our country if we are not going to benefit from that, and we are not benefiting? No, because they are looked at in so narrow a way. Fundamentally, if you understand, you will not get trapped by the money, by this relentless pursuit of money and success in those kind of terms. You will not get trapped. But then, on the other hand, I feel I don't have a right to influence them to think like that, because I was lucky. I decided I have only myself to be responsible to. so I can afford to be idealistic. Well, if I starve, I starve. You know, a family doesn't starve. So I can afford to be idealistic.
Well, we've got to take another little break, but when we come back, we've got something special. It's called what we call confession cam, and we've spoken to some of your
I have
peers
been confessing all the
and
time.
family. Well, we've got their thoughts on who you are as a person.
So my goodness,
yes.
yes, my student.
So we're going to come back to that.
Looking forward to see my student. Yes.
Right, so after the break, we're going to come back with the confession cam. So make sure you're here for that, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon.